You need three major qualities to become a successful filmmaker: patience, passion, and persistence. And all these three qualities defines our esteemed guest today. I have with me today Bikas Mishra and Onir. Thank you so much for joining us. Bikas, I'll start with you. Your film Chauranga is featured in 11th in Dubai International Film Festival. We already had one screening. How has been the response so far?
Wonderful. I loved the way audiences here, they connected with the film and they stayed back for the Q&A session. So this is the first public screening of my film outside of India, and it's really wonderful to see that how people from different cultures, they can identify with the film that's very culturally rooted in India. It was wonderful interacting with the audience here.
Onir, you first read Bikas's script in NFDC Screenwriters Lab. What made you join this project? I mean, what did you see in the script?
I think the first thing, like we both of us had the same script mentor, and when I was reading the script, I couldn't stop reading. You know, it captivated me. It brought me to a world that I was aware of but not familiar, and a world that fascinated me. And also knowing, because whatever we interacted, because we were together under the same mentor in the script, is I knew that it was, you know, a story that he deeply believes in, and one could see the kind of, it was not, you know, just wanting to become a filmmaker, but someone who wanted to tell a certain story. And I thought that for anti-clock films to get into film production of, you know, a film that is not directed with me, this would be the first film, and this would be a film that we would all love to be associated. And I'm glad that he also felt that same way, and it has been a wonderful journey, and very, very proud that it's here.
It's been a long journey, is it?
Yeah, I think we met in 2010, right? Yeah, and that's when we started. I mean, of course, at that point the script was being developed. I was working on I Am, but that's when we decided to, you know, work on this together and make this film happen. So yes, long, but at the same time, it's rewarding. You know, at the end of the journey.
Of course, it's a great film. I mean, I love the film. Particularly talking about Screenwriters Lab, we have seen lots of good films like the Lunchbox and The Good Read, have been is outcome of Screenwriters Lab. What do you feel about Screenwriters Lab, and how come now we are getting such good films from those labs? I mean, what do you have to say about those labs being organized across the world?
I think, I mean, like, both of our scripts have been there, and for me personally, and Bikas can talk about his experiences as a film writer, film director. For me, what really helped is to have and view from outside in a way, and with someone who is trying to not tell you what to write and what your film should be about, but who is trying to just make you open up the doors within you to explore your film, your subject much more, and making it also today in a world which is much more global, without losing the essence of your own individuality, your own culture. You know, so you're not told what to write, you are just helped to explore yourself within yourself much more.
That's great. Again, coming to you, this is like a special demand question from lots of young filmmakers I've met, pointed to you. Your film I Am. In fact, it was a groundbreaking film in terms of its crowdfunding, and you almost pulled in more than 1 crore rupees to finance the film. In fact, you also use social media, I mean Facebook and Twitter, to pull in finances across the world. How does it work? And for someone who obviously will look up to you and, you know, would try to do the same, what are the pitfalls then a filmmaker can avoid while going to the crowd?
See, I think it also differs from culture to culture, from where you are doing you know, crowdfunding. Like, for example, in the US or in Europe, it's much more simpler, but in India, because of the tax structures, plus cinema is not considered a form of art, you know, unlike the rest of the world. So it's a little bit more difficult. You have to be careful about legal issues, about the tax issues, but and it's also a lot about how you interact with people. You know, I had about 400 people from 47 countries contributing. We also did it for Chauranga, you know, in a small scale, but we also did a little bit of crowdfunding. And what is rewarding is you are not only creating finance, you are also crowdsourcing, that is getting in people, which we also did again for Chauranga. You know, we brought in talent in terms of ADs, production people, art directors who were crowdsourced. you also create a fan base and followers and film viewers while you're making your film, because they feel that it's your film. So I feel if you are passionate about your subject, you can use the media and first start with your friends. You convince them that what you're doing is, and then that multiplies.
Because the trust is a very important thing, isn't it?
So that is important, and then how you extend that, like you have one friend, you convince him, and your friend convinces more people.
So you slowly build on that trust.
Yeah, but you have to live up to that trust. That is more important, because otherwise it's short term. The idea is you should be able to deliver something that people who have trusted you are proud of.
Because talking about this film, you had, besides Onir, you had other collaborators as well. At any point of time, was it like a roadblock as a filmmaker? Were you getting too many suggestions, or were you very open to it, for example, when you're making this film or when you're developing the script?
I think I was lucky, and at the same time I also probably made a very wise decision to have an experienced filmmaker as my producer. So I had to always deal with my producer, that is Onir. And Onir had to deal with all other people, all other stakeholders,
so it was
and
a
all
very
other
clear
co-producers.
way you had communicated with each other.
So it was, in a way, Onir was guarding me against all these suggestions that he might have received of plenty. But I was always, in my little comfort zone where I had all the freedom.
True.
And my own ideas about how I want to execute the project.
True.
So working with lot many producers could be rewarding, could be a challenge as well.
Yeah.
But the key is that why do all these stakeholders, they come together? They come together because they believe in a certain script, and they believe in the vision of the director.
True.
And here I had somebody to work with me who was primarily a director himself, and more than anybody else, he understood the faith and the trust that he needs to put into the vision of the director. So I think it was a wonderful experience to work with an experienced director.
You've been a film critic, and now you got into feature filmmaking. You run a very successful web portal, DIFF2014. What do you enjoy most, writing or making films?
I like writing, and also filmmaking. A major part of making a film is writing. So writing is my primary passion. I have always been a writer. So I think what I write about on Dear Cinema, that's about cinema. So somehow everything comes together. I love cinema, I love writing. So, and you can't be writing a film or writing a screenplay all the while, because screenplay writing is more to do with the structure of a film.
Right.
It's kind of a technical writing.
True.
But what do you do when you watch a film and you fall in love with that film? That's not your film. So, Dear Cinema, we have built upon this idea. We have gathered these, people from different parts of the country and the world who are very passionate about cinema. Some of them are professional critics, and some of them are, they're formally trained, like people I studied with, and they are into completely different professions now. Some of them are business correspondents, and some of them are editors for business publications. But they have that formal understanding of cinema. And Dear Cinema gives them an outlet to write about contemporary Indian cinema, write about cinema which is not strictly Bollywood, but cinema which will be, very rich in content, and cinema that holds a hope for different kind of films in our country.
True. In fact, I tell a lot of my students to actually follow Dear Cinema, because you have a very good database on the film festivals across the world, and I think that becomes a very, very good important section that people who are getting into films should look out for. Would you agree with that?
That's the idea we are working on right now. Dear Cinema started with as a website where you can read reviews. But gradually, it has also brought together all those people who are practitioners of cinema, who are filmmakers or who want to become filmmakers. And there is complete dearth of information about, craft of filmmaking. There is no such platform available in our country where, people can interact. Like 2-3 years before, I started with Onir and Sanjay only. Like you got this on-demand question about crowdfunding.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
we did a full 3-hour-long session where Onir and Sanjay, they both came together, and we did an interactive session where people had all sorts of questions, about how they go about crowdfunding, what are the tax liabilities and all that. So we need such platforms where people who have done something and people who have achieved something, who have experimented some new aspect of, craft or art or business, whatever, cinema is everything. And they share their own experience. So building upon this idea, we have started an interactive session in Mumbai. We did a series of 6 interactive sessions where people like Ritesh Batra, he talked about his lunchbox experience. Guneet Monga came and she talked about international co-productions. So that's the idea. We want to not only remain a review website, because there are plenty now, mainstream publications, they also review alternative films, but more of a platform where people can exchange knowledge. They can have a conversation. They can learn from each other.
On a closing note, Onir, how do you brand yourself? I mean, if you are a filmmaker and you want to brand yourself, because we were talking about crowdfunding and how important, your friends are very important, but at the same time to build on the trust and to build on a brand, because you want to make a film again. So, according to you, how do you brand yourself as a filmmaker?
I think like right now in India, especially in the Hindi film industry, there are very, very few indie filmmakers, and right now I'm on my 5th film as a director, 6th film as a producer working on, and have always made film independently. So I see that there is, I have been an independent film director and producer, and I want to be known as an indie filmmaker, who also works on films which are produced or directed, which have a story to tell and which have a certain social political significance. Yeah.
Anything you'd like to add, Bikas? Branding?
No, I really admire Onir, the way it was a very act of, courage to have walked up to me in Screenwriters Lab in 2010 and said that I would like to help you make this film. That was just the first draft.
True.
And
that takes a lot of
yes.
courage.
So I do believe that Onir has, a huge commitment to cinema, to certain social issues, and at the same time, he has an eye for good writing. So
He's actually praising himself as good writing.
Well, I think that really sums up. We as filmmakers, I think it's very important that you have that understanding and have the courage to take it forward.
And
I think
that's very important, Sabir. Here, I meet plenty of producers who are independent producers, who claim to be independent producers, but they don't want to read the script.
True.
Then what's the difference between an independent producer and a studio?
Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, pleasure.
And we really hope that your second screening does better in the first screening. It was a great response in the first screening, and we wish you all the best for your future project, particularly yours. You're already making your
Yes.
your next film.
Yeah.
So all the best with that.
Thank you
you,
so
Bikas.
much.
Thank you
Thank
for
you
joining
so
us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.